Good afternoon. Today, I'm June Tinsley, Head of Communications with NCBI, and today I have the pleasure of having a chat with Paul Lynch, who is an employee of Crowe Ireland. Good afternoon, Paul, and thanks for joining with me.
Good afternoon, June. I'm happy to be here.
Great. And I suppose Paul is joining us today as part of this series of podcasts that I'm doing, looking at different areas of how people are interacting with NCBI, either by being a service user or being a clinician, or in Paul's situation, someone who is offering his time and expertise through his employer. So I suppose, Paul, just to kind of kick us off, would you mind explaining to the listeners who Crowe Ireland are?
Yeah, so Crowe Ireland, we're a leading accountancy and business advisory service in our firm in Ireland. We support Irish SMEs. We kind of offer a full range of audit, accounting, tax, corporate finance, and consultancy services. And we have approximately 140 staff and partners. So we're based in Dublin too as well. And as part of a CSR initiative, which is very much staff-led, we choose to partner with a number of charities every year, and NCBI happens to be one of them, one of the charities who we have partnered with over the last couple of years.
Yeah, which is absolutely great, and we very much appreciate the time that your staff have helped us out. And I suppose just, can I ask, as you know, there's lots of charities in Ireland, so lots of worthy causes. So how Crowe chose NCBI to be one of those partners?
So I think basically what we do is at the start of each year, we will send out a kind of staff survey or poll just to see, get ideas of who staff would like to partner with in terms of charities, who they'd like to be involved with. We kind of get a range from them, and NCBI did come up. So from some staff having obviously had relationships and experiences with NCBI in the past, so they came up as one of the ones that staff favoured. So on that basis, we proceeded and we engaged with them to take part in the audiobook readings. So that's how we came to be introduced as NCBI.
Great. And as you mentioned there, you lent your services to our library and some of your team essentially read the audiobooks for us. Tell us, how was that experience for your staff?
I think extremely positive. I think a lot of the staff really enjoyed it. I actually took part in it myself as well in the first book reading, and everyone seemed to feel it was just a really nice thing to kind of get involved with. They can it's something that they can see the tangible benefits of when they're kind of recording them, and then especially when they listen back to the recordings at the end, and just knowing that the service users of NCBI are getting great benefit from this. Like, I think staff really kind of appreciate that.
Great.
And NCBI also being kind of like a local, like, kind of charity in Ireland that, like, people can kind of just see them, like, you see their charity shops. They're like, it's nice that people can kind of just have familiarity with them as well. So that's one of the reasons why we would choose them as a partner as well, because people would know them and be familiar with them, so they can kind of engage, and especially if they have their own personal experiences and stuff with them.
And I suppose as well, from your staff perspective, people, as you say, can see us on the high street and might have donated clothing or even their time in their local NCBI store as well. So that kind of connection was there, as well as
exactly
a family member or themselves being a service user of our services as well.
Yes, exactly.
And in terms of the audio recording, who chose the book and how long did it take to do?
So the books, I believe, were kind of suggested to us from NCBI, just that these would be ones that they would have been that they would have needed to be done at the time. And from my understanding, as I'd say, it was probably about, well, I think it ranged depending on the book between, say, 10 or 12 participants per book, and each person would have either read, in one of the books I know was short stories, so they would have read a short story each, and I think the recording time usually was about 20 minutes, half an hour each, up to an hour, I think. So I think that's what it was roughly.
Okay, great. And do you recall how many books you recorded over the time you were working with the library?
I think we are on to three. I think we've done three now from what I understand. Yes, I think it's three now that we've done.
Great, great. And I suppose it's really an example of how companies can support the work of NCBI through their corporate social responsibility initiatives, where it's not too onerous on staff time or skill. If you're
Yes,
saying that it only took maybe like an hour per participant to be involved with us, because obviously there's plenty of initiatives CSOs departments can get you guys involved in.
exactly.
This one sounded as if it would fit the bill for you and your team.
Yeah, exactly. Like the firm itself, like they were very supportive of like staff who like staff did take it upon themselves. Like they either put in their own time or they took an hour off work, and the firm were very supportive of that. And just the staff, I think, as well from their point of view, it's just nice to see the volunteering aspect of it, as like it's not just all about fundraising in terms of this. It's nice to create awareness through this as well, and obviously our our marketing department as well. Like once we finished the recordings, they created kind of a summary with where you could actually listen to excerpts of each of the recordings, and they post that on social media and stuff. So it's just nice from us as well to be able to create the awareness for NCBI as well as lending the time and the volunteering. From our point of view, it's just nice that the people can get involved and actually feel like they're giving something. Hello?
Yep, no, I can hear you again.
Sorry, it just dropped there for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's just nice from the staff's point of view that they can that they can volunteer their time, and they feel like there's some kind of tangible benefit to the service users, as I've said, which is just not. It's nice to see that kind of end product. I think is the kind of point I'm trying to make there.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that, and I'm sure Crowe, like many other companies, do encourage their staff to participate in kind of fundraising initiatives as well. But
Yes, exactly.
having the breadth of options open to staff is helpful because it can kind of encourage participation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's nice from the staff's point of view from there.
And I suppose into the future, as you mentioned at the outset, Crowe connects itself with many organisations. Do you see the partnership with NCBI continuing?
Definitely do. Yes, it's one that we've had extremely positive feedback from staff. So staff have really enjoyed taking part in it and recording the books. It's something I think a lot of people like they wouldn't have initially thought of doing, or it's not something they would kind of go and do themselves. But when you actually get involved and do it, I think they just really enjoyed partaking in it and just reading through the books. So I definitely think it's something that we would like to continue.
And can I ask, and I suppose it's a very subjective question, really, how do you feel it felt either for yourself as a participant, but maybe for some of your other colleagues, to literally walk in the shoes of somebody who is blind and visually impaired, and to know that they are unable to read a book in the more traditional sense?
Yeah, it's an eye-opening experience really, because like from a lot of people's point of view, like including my own, like it's something that we can easily take for granted, like from just reading your morning newspaper to just even scrolling through Twitter or whatever people are reading in the mornings, like something like that. Like it's really something that you can take for granted, and when you realize that this is the only method for some people to actually get to experience books or anything like that, like it really does. It kind of hits home really when you think of it like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and it's such a simple thing that we, as you say, can take for granted until it's taken away from us. And I suppose overall, would you recommend the entire experience to other organisations to get involved with NCBI?
I definitely would. Yes. I think it's a really good experience. I think as many people who can get involved in it should get involved in it, because I do think it's really good. And even if you just even take the times we're in now with like COVID, you can see like with the restrictions and people not being able to move around, like definitely the service users are going to get a huge benefit from just being able to listen to the books and stuff like that, because obviously it's quite limited now and with this in the current times.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic is limiting mobility for a lot of people.
Exactly. So at least if they can have access to these kind of audio recordings, it makes a huge difference to them.
True, true, and I suppose the proof is the fact that the numbers of people signing up to our library has gone up significantly during the COVID pandemic that we're in, and that will no doubt increase as time goes on. I suppose, Paul, just to conclude and say many thanks to yourself and the team in Crowe for participating with NCBI, and I hope it's a relationship that we can grow and foster.
Definitely. It's definitely something we would be very, very much interested in continuing. And as I said, we've all enjoyed the experience so far. So it's something we definitely would like to continue.
Great, thank you. And I suppose for anyone listening, if they're interested in learning more about our library, they can access all our information through our info line, which is 1850 33 43 53. Listen, Paul, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks again.